Hello and welcome back to the Gentleman Psychic. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to take a little moment to send this to all of my other links. Oh, and I have to light my candles. Modern technology. Magic. And then I have to go here to the Facebook. I'll go here and share all of this so more people can see what it is that I am doing. And there goes the clock. Let's see. And I'm live, it says. We'll share that onto Facebook. Sorry, I have to do a little bit of prep work here. Join me as I read Inferno and post. And then I'll go over to the Gentleman Psychic. And I'm going to create a post. And let's see. Join me live as I read Inferno. Continue and publish. Okay, well, we'll wait for a few people to join us. I know we've got 6 people here. We don't have any commenters yet, but those of you who are here, hello and welcome back to the Gentleman Psychic. A lot of wonderful updates. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the things, the exciting things that are happening. I am doing more and more art, which is something that I, as a boy, wanted to do. And I have kind of a funny story about that. Hello, Jesse. Hello. So when I was just a boy, we're talking 3 or 4, I wanted to become an artist. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. And my auntie, who was probably 85 years old at the time, she lived to be 98. But my auntie, she says to me, "Oh, no, I don't want you to be an artist." And I said, "Why not? I want to be an artist." And she says, "Because I see it all the time, starving artists. Oh, I don't want that. I don't want that for my nephew." So, that was, she was much older, and she believed what she saw on TV. So hello, Mary Jane. Hello, Raven. Hello, Jesse. Hello, for those of you who are watching in silence. We're just going to wait just a few more moments. Hello, Di Lucaro. Lovely to see you here. I am so excited. I have never read Dante's Inferno before. I knew about it. There is, however, some things that hello, Amy. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. So there are some things I want to talk about a little bit about Dante Alighieri. I did read a while back, I read Hell Up to Date, which was a 19th century update of I think it's the 13th century novel it's a poem by Dante Alighieri. The thing is, this book, this poem sort of became canon for what people expect hell to be like, and they imagine all kinds of people who would end up in hell. What kind of people would you imagine would go to hell? Well, you don't have to tell me now, but we'll read the book and see if any of them line up with you. It's a Renaissance time for artists, I think. Excellent purple suit, by the way. Thank you, Sam Zog. I appreciate that. I have been in a little bit of a purple mood lately, so I am wearing purple suits. Anyway, I guess we have several people here. Hi, Matt. Good evening. Good evening. I'd just like to give everyone just a few minutes just to come in and compile themselves. This is something that I love to do for you. Good to see you too, Tiny Seller. Good to see you. This is something that I love to do. I love to read. I love to read to you. I hope that you enjoy these live readings. I will tell you the wonderful thing is that when I am reading to you, I'm also reading for myself, and I am able to consume and read many more books than I normally would. And for that, I am eternally thankful to each and every one of you. I am I'm very humbled and honored that you are here. Okay, well, it is 6 after the hour, and I think that we should go ahead and begin. And for posterity, I am not going to read the introduction, and this is why. That, all of this, is the introduction. If you would like to know more about Dante Alighieri, please feel free to look him up. This one is about his life and times and about Florence in 1300, historical and intellectual context of Dante's Commedia. Yeah, it's a lot. So I am going to skip the introduction to Dante Alighieri, and thank you, Raven. I appreciate that. I'm going to skip the introduction to Dante and go right to his Inferno. Speaking of Infernos, I have to make certain I'm hydrated. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boils and ghouls, and those who are somewhere undecided, or decided somewhere in between. All of you lovelies, welcome to the Gentleman Psychic, and welcome to Inferno. Canto I. At one point, am I on the right? I think I might be. Yeah, that still is. Yeah, Canto I. That's where we're starting. At one point, midway on our path in life, I came around and found myself now searching through a dark wood, the right way blurred and lost. How hard it is to say what that wood was. A wilderness, savage brute, harsh and wild. Only to think of it renews my fear. So bitter, that thought, that death is hardly worse, but since my theme will be the good I found there, I mean to speak of the other things I saw. I do not know, I cannot rightly say, how first I came to be here, so full of sleep that moment, abandoning the true way on. But then, on reaching the foot of a hill which marked the limit of the dark ravine that had before so pierced my heart with panic, I looked to that height and saw its shoulders already clothed in the rays of the planet that leads all others on any road aright. My fears at this were somewhat quieted, though terror awash in the lake of my heart had lasted all the night. I'd passed in anguish, and then, like someone laboring for breath, who safely reaching shore from open sea, still turns and stares across those perilous waves. So in my mind, my thoughts all fleeting, still I turned around to marvel at that strait that let no living soul pass through till now. And then, my weary limbs a little rested, I started up the lonely scree once more. The foot that drives me always sets the lower, but look now, almost as the scrap begins, a leopard, light and lively, svelte and quick, its coat displaying a dappled marking. This never ceased to dance before my face. No, on it came, so bothering my tread, I'd half a mind at every turn to turn. The time, however, was the hour of dawn. The sun was mounting, and those springtime stars that rose along with it when holy love first moved to begin all these lovely things. So these, the morning hour, the gentle season, led me to find good reason for my hopes. Seeing that creature with its sparkling hide, yet not so far that no fear pressed on me. To see appearing now a lion face. This, as it seemed, came on and on towards me, hungrily, its ravening head held high, so that in dread the air around it trembled. And then a wolf, and she who seemingly was gaunt, yet gorged on every kind of craving, and had already blighted many a life, so heavily oppressed my thought with fears, which spurted even at the sight of her. I lost all hope of reaching those heights. We all so willingly record our gains until the hour that leads us into loss. then every single thought is tears and sadness. So now with me, the brute which knows no peace came ever nearer me, and, step by step, drove me back down to where the sun is mute. As I went, ruined, rushing to that low, there had before my eyes been offered one who seemed like long silent, to be faint and dry. Seeing him in that great wilderness, to him I screamed my misery. Save me, whatever shadow or truly man you be. His answer came to me, no man. A man I was in times long gone, of Lombard stock. My parents both by Partia were Mantuan, and I was born, though late, sub Lolio. I lived at Rome in good Augustus' day, in times when all the gods were lying cheats. I was a poet then. I sang in praise of all the virtues of the Anchises' son. From Troy he came, proud Ilion raised in flame. But you turn back, you seek such grief and harm. Why climb no higher up that lovely hill? The cause and origin of joy shines there, so could it be, I answered him, my brow in shy respect bent low. You are that Virgil whose words flow wide, a river running full. You are the light and glory of all poets. May this serve me, my ceaseless care, the love so great that's made me search for writings, though. You are my teacher, you my lord and law. From you alone I took the fine-tuned style that has already brought me so much honor. See there, that beast I turned because of that. Help me, your wisdom known, escape from her. To every pulsing vein she brings a tremor. Seeing my tears, he answered me, there is another road, and that, if you intend to quit the wilderness, you're bound to take. That beast, you cry out at the very sight, lets no one through who passes on her way. She blocks their progress, and there they all die. She by her nature is cruel, so vicious, she never can state her vicarious will, but, feasting well, is hungrier than before. She couples a mate, too many a creature, and will so with more, till at last there comes the hunting hound that deals her death and pain. He will not feed on dross or cash or gelt, but thrive in wisdom, virtue, and pure love. Born he shall be between the felt and felt, to all the shores where Italy bows down. Here chaste Camilla died of wounds, Turnus, Eurelius, and Nicias too. He'll bring the true health, hunting that animal from every town. At last he'll chase her back once more to hell, from which Invidia was set her loose. Therefore, considering what's best for you, I judge that you should follow. I should guide, and hence through an eternal space lead on. There you shall hear thrill cries of desperation, and see those spirits mourning ancient pain, who all cry out for death to come once more. And then you'll see those souls who live in fire, content to hope. Whenever that time comes, they too will be among the blessed choirs, to which, if you shall ever wish to rise, a soul will come far worthier than me. I must, at parting, leave you in her care. Reigning on high, there is an emperor who, since I was a rebel to his law, will not allow his city as my goal. He rules there, sovereign over every part. There stands his capital, his lofty throne. Happy the one he chooses for his own. Poet, I answered, by that God whose name you do not know, I beg, so I may flee this ill, or worse, lead me to where you say to find the gates where now St. Peter stands, and all those souls that you say are so sad, he made to move, and I came close behind. Canto II. Daylight was leaving us, and darkened air drawing those creatures that there are on earth from all their laborers. I was the only one preparing as in war. to onward march and bear the agony that thought will now unfailingly relate. I call the muses, you great heights of mind, bring help to me, memory you wrote down all I saw. Now shall be seen the greatness of your power. You, I begin, my poet, and my guide, look at me hard. Am I in spirit strong enough for you to trust me on this arduous road? As you once told, the sire of Silvius travelled, though still in fragile flesh, to realms immortal, and his senses all alive. Nor would it seem to those of intellect unfitting if the enemy of ill should thus so greatly favor him, recalling what would flow from him, his name, and who he was. He was ordained in Empyrean skies, father of Rome, its noble heart and empire, to speak the truth, that city and the sphere it ruled was founded as the sacred seat for all the inheritors of the great Saint Peter. You have proclaimed the glory of that march. He, on his way, heard prophecies that led to all the triumphs and the papal stroll. And then St. Paul, the chosen vessel, came to carry back a strengthening of that faith from which salvation always must begin. But me? Why me? Who says I can? I'm not your own Aeneas. I'm not St. Paul. No one, not me, could think I'm fit for this. Surrendering, I'll say I'll come. I fear this may be lunacy. You, though, are wise. You know me better than my own words say, and so as though unwanting every want, so altering all at every altering thought, now drawing back from everything begun. I stood there on the darkened slope, fretting away from thought to thought, the bold intent that seemed so very urgent at the outset. Supposing I have heard your words aright, the shadow of that noble mind replied, your heart is struck with ignominious dread. This very often is the stumbling block that turns a noble enterprise off course, as beasts will balk at shadows falsely seen. I mean that you should free yourself from fear, and therefore I will say why first I came, and what, when first I grieved for you, I heard with those I was whose lives are held in poise, and then I heard a lady call, so blessed, so beautiful. I begged her to tell me all she wished. Her eyes were shining brighter than the stars. Then gently, softly, calmly, she began, speaking as angels might in her own tongue. You, Mantuan, so courteous in spirit, your fame endures undimmed throughout the world, and shall endure as still that world moves onwards. A man most dear to me, though not to fate, is so entrammelled on the lonely hill that now he turns all terror from the way. My fear must be he's so bewildered there that, hearing all I've heard of him in heaven, I rise too late to bring him any aid. Now make your way, with all your eloquence, and all that his deliverance demands. Lend him your help, so I shall be consoled. For me you'll go, since I am Beatrice, and I have come from where I long to be. Love is my mover source of all I say. When I again appear before my lord, then I shall often speak your praise to him. She now fell silent. I began to speak. Lady of worth and truth, through you alone the human race goes far beyond that bourne set by lunar sphere, smallest of all the skies. To me, so welcome is your least command, I'd be too slow had I obeyed by now. You need no more declare to me your will, but tell me why you take so little care, and, down to this dead middle point, you leave the spacious circle where you burn to go. Since you desire to know so inwardly, then briefly, she replied, I'll tell you why I feel no dread at entering down there. We dread an object when, but only when, that object has the power to do some harm. Nothing can otherwise occasion fear. I was created by the grace of God, and so untouched by all your wretchedness, nor can the flames of this great fire assail me. In heaven, a lady, gracious, good, and kind, grieves at the impasse that I send you to, and, weeping, rives the high, unbending rule. She called Lucia, seeking her reply. Your faithful one, she said to her, has now great need of you. I give him to your care. Lucia is the enemy of harm. Leaving her place, she came at once where I sat, Rachel, long famed, beside me. You, Beatrice, are, in truth, God's praise. Why not, she said, make haste to him? He loves you, and loving you, he left the common herd. Can you not hear the pity of his tears? Do you not see the death that beats him down, swirling in torrents that no sea could boast? No one on earth has ever run more rapidly to seek advantage or to flee from harm than I am in coming. When her words were done, down from that throne of happiness to trust in your great words, their dignity and truth, these honor you and those who hear you speak. When she had said her say, in tears she turned her eyes away, which shone as she was weeping, and this made me far quicker still for you. So now, as she had willed, I made my way to raise you from the face of that brute beast that stole your pathway up to the lovely hill. What is it, then? What's wrong? Why still delay? Why fondle in your heart such feebleness? Why wait? Be forthright, brave, and resolute. 3 ladies of the court of paradise in utmost happiness watch over you. My own words promise you the utmost good. As little flowers bend low on freezing nights, close tight, but then, as sunlight whitens them, grow upright on their stems and fully open. Now, so did I. My wearied powers reviving, there ran such wealth of boldness to my heart that openly, all new and free, I now began. How quick in compassion her aid to me! And you, so courteous, prompt to accede to all the words of truth that she has offered. You speak, you, as you speak, have so disposed my heart in keen desire to journey on the way, that I return to find my first good purpose. Set off, a single will inspires us both. You are my lord, my leader, and my true guide. All this I said to him as he moved on. I entered on that deep and wooded road. Canto III. Through me you go to the grief-racked city. Through me to everlasting pain you go. Through me you go and pass among lost souls. Justice inspired my exalted Creator. I am the creature of the holiest power of wisdom in the highest and primal of love. Nothing till I was made, only eternal beings, and I endure eternally. Surrender, as you enter every hope you have. These were the words that, written in dark tones, I saw there on the summit of the door. I turned, their meaning, sir, for me is hard, and he is answering as though he understood. You needs must here surrender all your doubts. All taint of cowardice must here be dead. We now have come where, as I have said, you'll see in suffering the souls of those who've lost the good that intellect desires to win. And then he placed his hand around my own. He smiled to give me some encouragement and set me on the enter secret things. Sighing, sobbing, moans, and plaintive wailing all echoed here through the air, where no star shone. And I, as this began to weep. Discordant tongues, harsh accents of horror, tormented words, the twang of rage, strident voices, the sound as well as the smacking hands. Together, these all stirred a storm that swirled forever in the darkened air where no time was. As sand swept up the breathing spires of wind, I turned, my head right bound in confusion, to say to my master, "What is it that I hear? Who can these be, so overwhelmed by pain? This baleful condition," he said, "is one that grips those souls whose lives contemptibly were void alike of honor and ill fame. These all commingle with the noisome choir of angels, not rebels, yet not true to God, existed for themselves alone. To keep their beauty whole, the heavens spurned them, nor would the depths of hell receive them in, lest truly wicked souls boast over them. And I, what can it be so harsh, so heavy, that draws such loud lamentings from these crowds?" And he replied, "My answer can be brief. These have no hope that death will ever come, and so degraded is the life they lead. All look with envy on all other fates. The world allows no glory to their name. Mercy and justice alike despise them. Let us not speak of them. Look, then, pass on." I did look, intently. I saw a banner running so rapidly, whirling towards that nothing, it seemed, would ever grant a pause. Drawn by that banner, with so long a trail of men and women, I should not have thought that death could ever have unmade so many. A few I recognized, and then I saw, and knew beyond all doubt, the shadow of the one who made them. From cowardice, the great denial. So I, at that instant, was wholly sure this congregation was that worthless mob, loathsome, alike to God and their own enemies. These wretched souls were never truly live. They now went naked and were sharply spurred by wasps and hornets, thriving all around. The insects streaked the face of each with blood. Mixing with tears, the lines ran down, and then were garnered at their feet by filthy worms. And when I got myself to look beyond others, I saw, were ranged along the bank of some great stream. "Allow me, sir," I said, "to know who these might be, what drives them on and makes them all, as far in this weak light as I discern, so eager for the crossing." "That will, of course, be clear to you," he said, "when once our footsteps are set firm upon the melancholic shores of Acheron." At this, ashamed, my eyes cast humbly down, fearing my words had weighed on him too hard, I held my tongue until we reached the stream. Look now. Towards us in the boat there came an old man, yelling hair, all white and aged. "Degenerates, your fate is sealed. Cry woe. Don't hope you'll ever see the skies again. I'm here to lead you to the farther shore, into eternal shadow, heat and chill. And you there, you, yes you, the living soul, get right away from this gang. These are dead." But then, on seeing that I did not move, "You will arrive by other paths and ports. You will start your journey from the different beach. A lighter hull must carry you across. Charon, my leader, don't torment yourself, for this is willed where all is possible. That is willed there." And so demanded no more. The fleecy wattles of the ferryman, who plied across the liverish swamp, eyeballs encircled by two wheels of flame, fell mute. But not the other souls, naked and drained. Their complexions changed, their teeth began hearing this raw command to gnash and grind. They raged, blaspheming God and their own kin, the human race, the place and time, the seed from which they had sprung, the day that they had been born. And then they came together all as one, willing aloud along the evil margin. that waits for all who have no fear of God. Charon, the demon, with his hot coal eyes, glared what he meant to do. He swept all in. He struck at any dawdler with his oar. In autumn, leaves are lifted one by one away until the branch looks down and sees its tatters all arrayed upon the ground. In that same way did Adam's evil seed hurtle in sequence from the river rim as birds that answer to their handler's call. Then off they went to the cross, the darkened flood, and long before they'd landed over there, another flock assembled in their seat, in their steed. In their stead, I apologize. Attentively, my master said, all those, dear son, who perish in wrath of God, meet on this shore, wherever they were born, and they are eager to be shipped across. Justice of God so spurs them all ahead, that fear in them becomes that sharp desire. But no good soul will ever leave from here. And so when Charon thus complains of you, you may well grasp the sense that sounds within. The words now done, the desolate terrain trembled with such great violence that the thought soaks me once more in terrified sweat. The tear-drenched earth gave out a gust of wind, erupting in a flash of bright vermilion that overwhelmed all consciousness, sentiment. I fell like someone gripped by sudden sleep. Canto number 4. Thunder rolling heavily in my head shattered my deep sleep. Startled, I awoke, as though just shaken in some violent grip. And then, once more my sight grew firm and fixed, now upright and again afoot. I scanned intently all around a view where I might be. I found I'd reached, and this is true, the edge of the abyss. That cavern of grief and pain that rings a peal of endless miseries, the pit, so dark, so weathered in cloud, went down so far that, peering to its deepest floor, I still could not discern a single thing. Let us descend, the poet now began, and enter this blind world. His face was pale. I shall go first, then you come close behind. I was aware of his altered color. How can I come when you, I said, my strength in every time of doubt, are terrified? It is the agony, he answered me, of those below that pains my feathers thus, not fear, as you suppose it is, but pity. Let us go on. The long road spurs our pace. So now he set himself, and me as well, to the enter circle 1, which skirts the emptiness. Here in the dark, where only hearing told, there were no tears, no weeping, only sighs that caused a trembling of the eternal air, sighs drawn from sorrowing, although no pain. This weighs on all of them, those multitudes of speechless children, women, and full-grown men. You do not ask, my teacher in his goodness said, who all these spirits are that you see here? Do not, I mean, go further till you know. These never sinned, and some attained to merit, but merit falls far short. None was baptized, none passed the gate, in your belief, to faith. They lived before the Christian age began. They paid no reverence as was due to God, and in this number I myself am one. For such deficiencies, no other crime. We all are lost, yet only suffer harm, through living in desire but hopelessly. At hearing this, great sorrow gripped my heart, for many persons of the greatest worth were held, I knew, suspended on this strip. Tell me, sir, tell me, my dearest teacher, so I began, determined on a point of faith, which routs all error to be sure. Has anyone by merit of his own, or else another's, left here, then been blessed? And he, who read the sense of my words, had hid, answered, I still was new to this strange state when, now advancing, I beheld a power whose head was crowned with signs of victory. He led away the shadow of our primal sire, shades of his offspring, Abel and Noah, Moses, who uttered and observed the law of Abraham, the patriarch, David, the king, Israel, his father, and his own 12 sons, with Rachel too, for whom he labored long, and many more besides. All these he blessed. These too, I mean, you'll know, until these were no human soul had ever been redeemed. Speak as he might, our journey did not pause, but on we went, and onward through the wood, I mean, of spirits thronging round. Our steps were still not far from where in sleep I fell, when now ahead I saw fire that overcame the hemisphere of shade. From this we were as yet some paces off, but not so far that I should fail to see that men of honor made this place their own. Honor you bring, my lord, to art and learning. Inform me who these are. Their honor great, who stands apart in some way from the rest, he answered me. The honor of their name rings clear for those like you who live above, and here gains favor out of heaven's grace. And then there came upon my ear a voice. Honor be his, the poet in the heights. His shadows now returns from which he had departed. The voice was still and silent once again. And now I saw there came 4 noble shades, no sorrow in their countenance, nor joy. My teacher, that good man, began to speak. Look on, behold the one who, sword in hand, precedes as their true lord, the other 3. This is that sovereign Homer poet. Horace, the satirist, is next to come. Ovid is third. Then, see, there is Lucan. All these, by right, must duly share with me the name that sounded in that single voice. They do me honor thus, and thus do well. And so I saw, assembling there as one, the lovely collage of that lord of song, whose verses soar like eagles over all. Some little time they talked among themselves, and turned to me and offered signs of greeting. On seeing all this, my teacher smiled. And greater honor still they paid me now. They summoned me to join them in their ranks. I came and walked as 6th among such wisdom. So on we went to reach that dome of light, and spoke of things which, proper where I was, are regulated rightly here to silence. We reached the footings of a noble fort, circled around by 7 curtain walls, and also, as its moat, a lovely stream. We passed this brook as though it were dry land. Though 7 gates I went with these 5 sages, and then came out upon the verdant lawn. Here there were some whose eyes were firm and grave, all in demeanor of authority, who seldom spoke, their tones were calm and gentle. And so we drew aside and found a space, illuminated, open, high and airy, where all these were able to be seen. And there, across that bright enameled green, these ancient heroes were displayed to me, and I, within myself, am still raised high at what I saw. Electra, many round her, Hector I recognize, Aeneas too, and Caesar in arms, with his hawk-like eyes, Camilla I saw at Pensalia, and King Latinius on the other side, his daughter seated with him, his Lavinia, Brutus, he drove proud Tarquin out, Lucrece and Julia, Maricia, Cornelia, all these I saw, and there alone, apart, the Sultan Saladin. And then, my brow raised higher still, I saw among his family of philosophers the master of all those who think and know. To him all look in wonder, all in honor, and closer to his side than all the rest, I now saw Socrates, I saw Plato, and one, Democritus, who claims the world is chance. Diogenes, Antalius, and Anxorius, Empedocles, Hercatelius, and Zeno. Then I saw who gathered healing herbs, I mean good Dioscritus. Orpheus I saw, and Seneca, the moralist, Linus, Tully, Euclid, geometer, and Ptolemy, Hippocrates, of Avicenna, and Galen. Averroes too, who made the commentary. I cannot here draw portraits of them all. My lengthy subject presses me ahead, and saying often falls short of fact. That company of 6 declines to 2. My lord in wisdom leads the different way, out of that quiet into trembling air, and nothing where I now arrive, is shining. Canto number 5. And so from circle 1, I now went down deeper to circle 2, which bounds a lesser space, and therefore greater suffering. Its sting is misery. Minos stands there, horribly there, and barking, he on the threshold checks degrees of guilt, then judges and dispatches with his twirling tail. I mean that every ill-begotten creature, when summoned here, confesses everything, and he, his sense of sin is very fine, perceives what place in hell best suits each one, and coils his tail around himself to tell the numbered ring to which he'll send them down. Before him always stands a crowd of souls. By turns they go, each one fore-sentencing, each pleads, attends, and then is tipped below. You there, arriving at this house of woe. So when he saw me there, the judge spoke forth to interrupt a while his formal role. Watch as you enter, and in whom you trust. Don't let yourself be fooled by this wide threshold, my leader's thrust, this yelling. Why persist? Do not impede him on his destined way, for this is willed where all is possible, that is willed there, and so demand no more. But now the tones of pain, continuing demand, I hear them out, and now I come where grief and weeping pierce me at the heart. And so I came where light is mute, a place that moans as oceans do, impelled by storms, surging, embattled in conflicting squalls. The swirling winds of hell will never rest. It drags these spirits onwards to its force. It chafes them, rolling, clashing grievously. Then, once they reach the point from which they fell, screams, keening cries, the agony of all, and all blaspheming at the holy power. Caught in his torment, as I understood, were those who, here condemned for carnal sin, made reason bow to their instinctual bent. As starlings on the wing in the winter chills are borne along the wide and teeming flocks, so on these breathing gusts of evil souls. This way had and that, and up and down they were borne. Here is no hope of any comfort ever, neither of respite nor of lesser pain. And now, as cranes go singing lamentations and form themselves through air in long-drawn lines, coming towards me, trailing all their sorrows, I saw new shadows lifted by his force. Who are these people, sir? I said. Tell me, why black air scourges them so viciously? The first of those whose tale you wish to hear, he answered me without a moment pause, governed as empress over diverse tongues. She was so racked by the lust and luxury, licentiousness was legal under laws she made, to lift the blame that she herself incurred. This is Samarius. Of her one reads that she, though heir to Ninus, was his bride. Her lands were those where now the Sultan reigns. The other, lovelorn, slew herself and broke her vow of faith to Sacathio's ashes, and next to lascivious Cleopatra. Helen, you see, because of her, a wretched waste of years went by. See great Achilles? He fought with love until his final day. Paris, you see, and Tristan there, and more than 1,000 shadows he numbered, naming them all. From love had led to leave our life. Hearing that man of learning, Harold thrust these cavaliers of old and noble ladies. Pity oppressed me, and I was all but lost. How willingly I turned towards the poet. I'd speak to those two there who were conjoined and looked to be so light upon the wind. And he to me, you'll see them clearer soon. When they are closer, call to them, invoke the love that draws them on, and they will come. I moved them in words, soul-wearied creatures, come, if none forbids to us, breathless speak, as doves, when called by their desires, will come, wings spreading high, to settle on their nest, borne through the air by their own steady will. So these two left the flock where Dido is. They came, approaching through malignant air, so strong for them had been my feeling cry. Our fellow, being gracious, kind, and good, you, on your journeying through this bruised air, here visit two who tinged the world with blood. Suppose the sovereign of the universe were still our friend, we'd pray he grant you peace. You pity so the ill perverting us. Whatever you may please to hear or say, we, as we hear, we, as we speak, assent, so long as now do, these winds stay silent. My native place is set along those shores through which the river Po comes down to be at last at peace with all its tributaries. Love, who has so fast brings flame to generous hearts, seized him with feeling for the lovely form, now torn from me, the harm of how still rankles. Love, who no loved one pardons love's requite, seized me for some so strongly in delight, that, as you see, he does not leave me yet. Love drew us onwards to consuming death. Cain's ice awaits the one who quenched our lives. These words borne on to us from them were theirs. And when I heard these spirits in distress, I bowed my eyes and held them low until, at length, the poet said, "What thoughts are these?" I, answering in the end, began, "Alas, how many yearning thoughts, what great desire have led them through such sorrow to their fate? And turning to them now, I came to say, Francesca, how your suffering saddens me. Sheer pity brings me to the point of tears. But tell me this, the how of it, and why that love, in sweetness of such sighing hours, permitted you to know those doubtful pangs. To me, she said, there is no sorrow greater than, in times of misery, to hold at heart the memory of happiness your teacher knows. And yet, if you so deeply yearn to trace the root from which the love we share first sprang, then I shall say, and speak as though in tears. One day we read together for pure joy how Lancelot was taken in love's palm. We were alone. We knew no suspension. Time after time, the words we read would lift our eyes and drain all our color from our faces. A single point, however, vanquished us. For when at last we read the longed-for smile of Guinevere, at last her lover kissed, he, who from me will never now depart, touched his kiss, trembling to my open mouth. The book was Galholt. Pander penned the pimp. That day we read no further down those lines, and all the while, as one of them spoke on, the other wept, and I, in such great pity, fainted away as though I were to die, and now I fell as bodies fall for dead. Canto number 6. As now I came once more to conscious mind, closed in those feelings for the kindred souls that had, in sudden sadness, overcome me. Wherever I might turn, I saw, wherever I might move or send my gaze, new forms of torment, new tormented souls. I am in a circle 3, and rain falls there, endlessly chill, accursed and heavy. Its rate and composition never knew. Snow, massive hailstones, black tainted water pour down in sheets through tenebrae of air. The earth absorbs it all and stinks revoltingly. Cerberus, weird and monstrously cruel, barks from his triple throats in cur-like yowls over the heads of those who lie there, drowned, his eyes vermilion. Beard a greasy black, his belly broad, his fingers all sharp nailed. He mauls and skins, then hacks in 4 these souls. From all of them, rain ringing a wet dog howl. They squirm as flank screens flank. They twist, they turn, and then, these vile profanities, they turn again. That reptile Cerberus now glimpsed us there. He stretched his jaw and showed us all his fangs. And me, no member in my frame stayed still. My leader, bending with his palms wide spanned, scooped dirt in each, and then, his fists both full, hurled these as sops down all 3 ravening throats. A hungry mongrel, yapping, thrusting out, intent on nothing but the meal to come, is silent only when its teeth sinks in. In that same way, with 3 repulsive muzzles, the demon Cerberus, his thunderous growling, stunned these souls. They wished themselves stone deaf. Over such shadows, flat in that hard rain, we travelled onward still. Our tread now fell on voided nothings, only seeming men. Across the whole terrain, these shades were spread, except that one, at seeing us pass by, sat on the sudden upright and then cried, "You there, drawn onwards through this stretch of hell, tell me, you know me, say so, if you can. You, made as a man before myself unmade." And I replied, "The awful pain you feel perhaps has cancelled you from memory. Till now, it seems I've never even seen you. Then tell me, who are you, and why you dwell in such a place, and why in pain like this? Others may well be worse, none so disgusting. And he, that burr of yours, that sack of bile that brims by you now to overflow, I lived as hers throughout my own fine weather years. You knew me, like your city friends, as Hoggo, so here I am, condemned for gullet sins, lying, you see, squashed flat by battering rain. I'm not alone in misery of soul. These all lie subject to the self same pain. Their guilt is mine." He spoke no further word. "Hoggo, your heavy labourers," I replied, "weigh on me hard and prompt my heavy tears. But tell me, if you can, where they'll all end, the citizens of that divided town. Is there among them any honest man? Why is that place assailed by so much strife?" His answer was, "From each side, long harangues, and then to blood, and the Wildwood boys will drive the others out. They'll do great harm, but then, within the span of 3 brief suns, that side will fall, and others rise and thrive, spurred on by one now just coasts between. For quite some time they'll hold their heads up high and grind the others under heavy weights. However much, for shame, these weep and writhe. Of this lot, 2 are honest yet not heard, for pride and avarice and envy are the 3 fierce sparks that set all hearts ablaze." With this, his tear-drenched song now reached an end, but to him, "I still want more instruction. This gift I ask of you, please do say more. Tagayo, Ferranta, men of rank, Moscow, Aragio, Rostuccio, too, and others with their minds on noble deeds, tell me, so I may know them where they are, for I am gripped by great desire to tell if heaven holds them sweet, or poisonous hell. And these dwell among the blackest souls, loaded down deep of sins of differing types. If you sink far enough, you'll see them all. But when you walk once more where life is sweet, bring me, I beg, to others in remembrance. No more I'll say, nor answer any more. His forward gaze now twisted to a squint. He stared at me a little, bent his head, then fell face down and joined his fellow blind. My leader now addressed me. He'll not stir until the trumpets of the angels sound, at which his enemy, true power, will come. Then each will see once more his own sad tomb, and each, once more, assume its flesh and figure, each hear the rumbling thunder roll forever. So on we fared across that filthy blend of rain and shadow spirit, slow in step, touching a little on the life to come. Concerning which these torments, sir, I said, when judgment has been finally proclaimed, will these increase or simmer just the same? Return, he said, to your first principles. When anything, these state, becomes more perfect, then all the more it feels both good and pain. Albeit these accursed men will not achieve perfection full and true, they still, beyond that day, will come to sharper life. So circling on the curve around that path, we talked of more than I shall here relate, but reached the brow from which the route descends, and found there Plutus, the tremendous foe. Canto number 7. Popoi Satan, Alazuriel. So Plutius, shrill voice, clucking on, began, but Virgil, wise and noble, knowing all, spoke out to comfort me. Let not your fears occasion you distress. Despite your powers, he cannot steal your right to scale this rock face. And then he turned to meet those rabid lips. Silence, you execrable wolf, he said. May fury gnaw you inwardly away to these dark depths. With every right he treads, all this is willed where Michael, in the heights, averaged the rapine wrought by prideful hordes. As sails, inflated by furious wind, fall in a triangle, when the main mast snaps, so too he flopped, this predator, to the ground. Then downwards to the seventh sink he went, advancing further down to the curving wall that bags up all the evil of the universe. God in all justice. I saw there so many new forms of travail, so tightly crammed, by whom how can our guilt so rend and ruin us? Over Charterbridge, the sea surge swirls and shatters on the swell it clashes with. So must these people dance in their Morisco. I saw, in the numbers greater than elsewhere, two factions hollering this one to that, who rolled great boulders, thrust by rib and tit. Their stones would clash. Then wheeling, they'd retreat and yell across their shoulders, cry and countercry. You miser, why? Why fling it all away? So back along that dismal curve they went, to reach that either end, the diametric points, still screaming shamefully insulting chants, arriving back, each by its own half circle, each whisked round to the tilt against the other. At this, my heart transfixed, or very nearly. Sir, I spoke up, make clear to me what folk these are, and whether to our left all those with tonsured scalps could really have been clerics. Without exception, all of these, he said, when they lived, had such strabismic minds they'd bear no check or measure on expense. And when they reach the 2 points of the round where the converse crimes uncouple from each, they bark their meaning out and sound it clear. Clerics they were, All those whose heads aren't dressed with shaggy hair, all popes or cardinals, in that lot avarice displays its worst. Well, sir, I said, in any group like this, I surely ought to recognize some who bore in life the taint of this disease. You seek, he said, to form an idle thought. The mindless lives that made them all so foul darken them from against all acts of mind, both to eternity, will buck and butt. These from their tombs will rise. One moment. You seek, he said, to form an idle thought. The mindless lives that made them all so foul darken them now against all acts of mind. Both to eternity will bucks and butt. These form their tombs will rise with first tight shut, the others with their curly manes cropped short, their frenzied sprees or feeble hoardings up, have wrung from them the beauty of the world and brought them firmly to this ugly brawl. You now can see, dear son, the short-lived pranks that goods consigned to fortune's hand will play, causing such squabbles in human ranks. For all the gold that lies beneath the moon, or all that ever did lie there, would bring no respite to these worn-out souls, not one. Please tell me, sir, I said, a little more. What can it be? This fortune that you touch on, that clasps all earthly goods between its claws. And he to me, you idiotic creatures, so greatly hurt by your own ignorance, feed on my words. I'd have you grasp their sense. He who transcends in wisdom all that is, wrought every sphere, and gave to each guide, so every part shines out to every part, always an equal distribution of light. So too, above the splendors of the world, he set a sovereign minister ordained to move in permutations at the proper time, vain goods from the tribe to tribe, from blood to blood, in ways from which no human wisdom hides. And this is why, where one race rules supreme, another faints and languishes. They all pursue their judgments, secret as snake in grass. Your powers of mind cannot contend with her. She, looking forwards, will pronounce her law, advancing. So do other gods, her own domain. Her permutations never come to rest. It is necessity that makes her quick. So thick they come by turns to meet their fate. She is the one so often crossed and cursed by those who rightly ought to sing her praise, yet vilify her name and speak her ill. But she, a holy being, pays no heed. Happy with all the other primal powers, she turns her sphere, rejoicing in beatitude. So let us now go down to greater pain. The stars of those when I first stirred now fall. We cannot stay too long. That is forbidden. Cutting across the circle, we approached the margins of a spring, which, seething, spilled and ran from there along an outer sluice. The waters here were darker far than Perse. So on, accompanied by murky waves, downwards we travelled by a weirder route into a swamp. By name, the loathsome Styx, this melancholy brook makes way, and finds the foot of those malignant grey-black slopes. As there I stood, intent and wondering, I saw there, plunged within that stagnant fen, a peevish people, naked, caked with mud, each battered each, and not with fists alone, also with headbutts, kicks, and charging chests. Their teeth, too, tore them bit by bit to shreds. You witness now, my gentle teacher said, the souls of those whom anger overthrew. And this I'd also have you know, be sure, beneath the surface of this slick are some who sighs, as you can see at every turn, how irate that pullating film. So struck there fast in slime, they hum, mournful we were. Sunlight rejoices the balmy air. We, though, within ourselves nursed sullen fumes, and come to misery in this black ooze. That is the hymn each gurgles in his gorge, unable to articulate a single phrase. So, on around this sour, revolting pit, between the sludge and the arid rock, we swung our arc, eyes bent on those who gulped that slop. We reached, in fine, the bottom of the tower. And I think, my loves, that is where we shall end for the evening. So, this is Dante's Divine Comedy. It's supposed to be a comedy, and he ends up by meeting people that he knows in hell. Let me just take a moment to read some of the comments. Hello, lovely to see you. Tonight, Jesse says, I woke up and thought it was my uncle reading to me. Thank you, my uncle. Oh, how very lovely. Dorian Gray, 1945. Very lovely. Jamais Tulula. Oh, wow. I love that you are back to read the story. We all will be happy to check with my notifications forever onward. Love to you, my dear. Brought me up as his own, hence uncle. If at some point in time you would like to know more or even have interest in a two-man play, please don't hesitate to contact me. I think that sounds very interesting. Jesse, please send a message to me either on Facebook or through the Gentleman Psychic, or you can even send a message through Instagram. That's another good one. Divinity Kitten, hello, good evening. Dante's Inferno, yes, indeed. Soaring Eagle. Tallulah says, I'm better at reading this. Yes, you know what? I have not ever read this book. It is translated, of course, from the original Italian, and I'm lousy at Italian, but I'm going to just give you a little taste because the opposite page has Italian. I might butcher it. I probably will. Let's see. Che tutto gli osceto sotto la luna e scettacoi fu de guest and me staunchement. I'm bad. I'm not even going to butcher it any further than that. If you have enjoyed this one, my lovelies, make certain to like, comment, and share. It does really help my channel out tremendously. If you'd like to help out a little bit more, there are great ways of helping the channel stay up, and that would be through my Patreon under patreon.com/thegentlemanpsychic. You can also, there's PayPal, Venmo too. If you enjoy it, if you can't, you're fine. I love you. I'm glad that you're here. It is not a pressure for you, but if you can, it is always helpful. It helps me to continue to bring you great content. And I will be back again on Tuesday this coming week. And I will probably be back on Friday of next. Possibly, that's possible. I would like to see you more frequently. So with that, my lovelies, I hope you have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night, wherever you may be. And hail Satan. Hail yourself. Good night. Love to you. Take care. Bye-bye.